Greetings everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to have a conversation about death industrial music, and you might say right from the get-go, why is a Dark Ambient guy talking about death industrial music, and where's the connection? Well, I've always believed, and you may disagree, that death industrial is something of a subgenre of Dark Ambient music, or maybe like a cousin genre of Dark Ambient music. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, they all fall underneath the industrial umbrella, so there's something sonically linked there. And since death industrial has, or oftentimes has, a sort of dark ambient drone undercurrent, I say it's definitely a linked genre. In case you're not familiar with death industrial, it is a genre of music that dates back to the late 80s. Most people would say the founders of the genre are Brighter Death Now, Genocide Organ, and the Grey Wolves, with other projects that came slightly after that, like Atrex Morgue, MZ412, and Archon Satane. Whereas some more contemporary modern-day artists are The Body, Pharmakon, and Linguia Ignata. Death industrial thematically usually focuses on the most negative aspects of human life. Death, urban decay, destruction, violence, trauma, depression, just mental illness in general, porn, rape, or sexual deviancies in general, and sometimes, and pretty rare, even World War II themes or far right-leaning political beliefs. But how does death industrial sound? Well, it's oftentimes characterized by a very dense atmosphere, with sort of a drone or dark ambient undercurrent to it, and then oftentimes with pulsating, repetitive loops, and usually very distorted or screamed vocals, or even in some rare cases, actually sung vocals. With that being said, you're probably thinking death industrial is more related to noise music or power electronics, and that's certainly valid, but there are differences. They're minuscule, but they're definitely different. Death industrial definitely has a more rhythmic quality, and there's definitely more substance to it. I've always felt that like power electronics and noise music is just, it's oftentimes just noise. There's not enough to really hook me in and make me a fan of noise music, because it's just usually blaring white noise, and I don't understand that. And yes, death industrial music does get pretty noisy, pretty abrasive sometimes, but there's enough going on. There's vocals, there's lyrics, there's an atmosphere, whereas noise and power electronics really is a whole entire different beast. So the point of this video is not to give you a great, in-depth history of death industrial, because for what it's worth, I am not an expert, not even close. This is a genre of music I've known about for many years, but just haven't really explored. And, maybe doing this video will prompt me to dig a little bit deeper and share some more stuff in the future as well. But the main point here is I just want to share some death industrial albums I own and just kind of bring them to a slightly greater light. And if you have never heard death industrial, well, I feel like these are some decent albums to start with. So let's get into it. Alright, so to kick things off, we're going to talk about the Los Angeles, California duo who are known as Stench, and their debut album, Masked in Black Shadows, which was released back in 2012 on Black Plague Productions. So Stench is sort of a mixture of death industrial, noise, and raw black metal. I know, kind of a weird entry to kick this video off, but I bought this about 2 years ago, a totally blind purchase, and what ultimately sort of hooked me and made me want to check it out was that the record label that I was buying from, Malignant Records, they had compared this to the classic Swedish black metal band Abruptum, and I was like, alright, I want to hear this. So, total blind buy, and I ended up really, really enjoying this. So essentially what this album is, as I kind of already said, is very lo-fi, raw black metal intermingled with death industrial and noise and power electronics characteristics. There's harshly screamed vocals and very heavily distorted guitars, and it creates a very, very dark and ritualistic mood. Thematically, it's all about death and Satanism, and it's really cool. This is sort of, I don't know why I haven't gotten more from this band, but I really like this. There is such a dense atmosphere in this. It really, and I probably should have said this right from the get-go of this video, is that there's, you sort of, with death industrial, it oftentimes feels like you're sort of really like getting an intimate look at the artist's brain. It's almost as if like you're wiring into their psyche and just getting to hear like their most like deep, disturbed thoughts and secrets. And that's quite different from, say, like Dark Ambient, where like it's this much more expansive and huge atmosphere. At least I feel like Dark Ambient has that most of the time. You know, it's different from that. This is much more condensed, much more dense, and it's really interesting stuff. But yeah, Death Stench, man, this is a good one if you want something that's, you know, sort of linked to metal while not really being metal in any traditional sense, but having, you know, these black metal characteristics alive and well in here. Really cool artwork, and I mean, even the artwork seems very reminiscent of like a black metal album with all the skulls and, you know, occult symbols and what have you. But yeah, Death Stench, guys, this is really worth looking up, and I really dig this a lot. So yeah, Masked in Black Shadows. Moving on, we have a split album known as Confessional, a 3-way adult program which features Swollen Organs, Needle Fetish, and Climax Denial. Truth be told, I bought this specifically for the Climax Denial tracks. Climax Denial is, at least for me, a project that I know a little bit about, and I've actually met Alex because he's a local musician around here. I've seen him play live, and I've seen him at like black metal shows, although I wouldn't by any means say that we're friends, and probably if he even watches this video, he'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? But anyway, I've slowly over the years gotten my hands on a few of his recordings, and I generally like them quite a bit. And yeah, Climax Denial is a project that kind of falls into that power electronics, death industrial territory, although I think he gets more sonically linked to power electronics, but whatever, you know, again, the lines are sometimes blurred here. Whereas Swollen Organs and Needle Fetish are projects that are completely new to me. I've never heard of them before. So yeah, this one is pretty much a fair mixture of like death industrial and power electronics. Again, a very dense atmosphere, sometimes very abrasive, sometimes awkwardly soothing. I was actually listening to this Sunday afternoon when I was still nursing a hangover from drinking entirely too much whiskey on Saturday night, and yeah, which is weird. You think, like, if your head's hurting, you wouldn't want to listen to something that's abrasive, but somehow, in some strange, fucked up way, this was actually soothing as I was slowly passing into sleep and felt like I was on the cusp of death. But yeah, this is really cool stuff. This was released by Alex's own Virtues label, which is a label he's been doing for a couple years now. The label, as far as I can tell, mostly focuses on power electronics, noise, death industrial, and to a lesser extent, other, like, ambient or dark ambient, experimental, and even one black metal release has been put out so far. It's a label I've been kind of meaning to look up again and kind of make another order, because last time I looked at it, there was a lot of cool stuff I definitely want to get my hands on. So yeah, Confessional, featuring Swollen Organs and Needle Fetish and Climax Denial. Moving on, we're going to talk about a project known as Gnawed. Now, Gnawed is a project from Minneapolis, Minnesota, spearheaded by one Grant Richardson. I saw Gnawed live at a local club probably about 10 years ago. It was a small little DIY club, which I saw a lot of noise and black metal, or just metal shows in general. It had a truly underground atmosphere and just, you know, feeling to it, and I really, really miss the Borg Ward. But anyway, I saw Grant Richardson and Gnawed there, and I got some really cool pictures. I really, really enjoyed what he did that night. Gnawed is basically a pretty fair mixture of death industrial and power electronics. It's probably a little more abrasive than most death industrial, but again, you know, I'm not an expert, so I can't really make a good contrast and compare here, but at least to my ears, it's a little more abrasive. And it's not a bad thing, because there's still a lot of substance here. There's still a rhythm, and there's vocals, heavily distorted vocals, and it's just really interesting music, and it really... I guess artists like Gnawed have been you know, inspirational for me to create more kind of harsh music myself, and I really dig this stuff. And I've had this tape for probably about 10 years now, but I have unfortunately not heard anything else from this project, which has been a serious mistake on my behalf, because this is really good stuff. So this is a short tape. It's about nothing on that side. It's a short tape, maybe about 20-25 minutes long, and it repeats on both sides of this tape. But yeah, man. So this was recorded in the summer of 2013. So it was I think this was new right when I picked this up, when I saw him live. Yeah, but Grant has been going since about 2009 and has put out several cassette and CD releases, and if I'm not mistaken, is one of the bigger names in the power electronics and death industrial genre. One more, and I'll let you guys get on with your day then. Let's talk about R.C. Kozletsky and his one and only solo album, Pulsed in a Dull Glass Bell. R.C. Kozletsky, or Robert Conrad Kozletsky, is a dark ambient, noise, industrial, death industrial musician from Indiana, Pennsylvania, and you may know him more so from the dark ambient scene with his projects Apocryphals and Psychomanthium, but he also has a death industrial project called Shock Frontiers, which is very good. But here we have his one and only solo recording from 2016, and this is a really interesting recording. And I actually bought this recording originally because Power Boostrom from Kammerheit does the artwork for this, and I've always loved his artwork. I have noted that over the years, and I just sort of, did a blind buy, ended up really liking this. So this is a more slowly evolving and not particularly harsh death industrial project. There's probably more of a dark ambient, slow pulsing kind of feel to this, and this I think could actually be sort of a good album to kind of introduce people more to this style. It's not particularly abrasive. It's not overwhelming. It's not so, I don't know. It's different from a lot of death industrial, and I really dig that. So it was put out by Danvers State Recordings, which is, I believe, a label that particularly specializes in like dark ambient, death industrial, noise, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, man, I really dig it. It's cool stuff. Maximum volume is necessary for catharsis. Yeah. Well, yeah, really cool artwork. I mean, what can you say? I mean, Power has a very interesting style, and I think this is really cool stuff. Robert has put out a lot of projects over the years, and I've enjoyed all of them. But then as I was kind of getting into this review, I realized that for all the years that I've been doing this channel, I have never talked about Apocryphals or Psychomanthium. So that's definitely something I got to change, and we'll definitely get a review going for that in the future. Well, that's it, and I hope you enjoyed this little foray into death industrial and more abrasive music than what I usually talk about here on the Inner Sanctum Noctilucant channel. If you're familiar with death industrial, I'd be really curious to hear like what some of your favorite projects are, because as I said right from the get-go of this video, I have known about this genre for a long time, but I've always just been an outsider, and my meanderings into it have been kind of few and far between, and I just... I'd definitely like to know more about it, I guess. So definitely give me suggestions, just the way I've given you suggestions here. And if you are more of an expert or a seasoned veteran, I would definitely like to know how I did here, or just some better projects or whatever you want to recommend, whatever you think that the essentials for the death industrial fan are out there. So anyway, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time.